All right. Hey guys, welcome. It's Julie and I. Another day talking about the beautiful, the exciting, the sometimes ominous entrepreneur journey. While we're getting more people in, I think it would be appropriate to share a story, and then we'll go deep dive, per usual, into our topic. So, not many people know the details of what I just endured. But long story short, I had a pretty rough bout with PTSD. And I was in a really low emotional state as a trigger happened. And I decided I wanted to get out of my head. Excuse me. So I reached out to a friend who happened to be traveling that day to New Orleans. And so I decided, you know what? I've been wanting to introduce that friend to another friend, called that friend, planned a trip, decided to head out that way. Mind you, I was in this really low PTSD state. My whole body was just jacked. My mind, I couldn't focus, I couldn't do anything. But I was determined to get out of this state, literally and figuratively. So I started driving. The state I was in was so intense that I was tearing up just randomly for no reason. My body was just like taken over. And then as soon as I crossed the Louisiana state line, it started pouring down rain. And this song, Love Rain Over Me, started playing. Like as soon as it started raining. And my state went from what I just described to you, intense emotions, just my body was angry, to I couldn't stop smiling. Every part of my being was just like, wow, that was cool. It took that one little thing to shift my entire state from tears to extreme happiness. And so today, that's what we're going to talk about. We discussed the dark ages last week and how to navigate that. And so this week, Julie and I really want to talk about centering and staying centered and shifting your states from that dark space to one that allows you to be more productive and to create and to build and to manifest, because that's what we're all here for. That's why we are doing what we're doing.
Yes.
So, Julia, was there anything you wanted to share as well?
I just want to comment on that experience that you had. Just say thank you and offer my heart of gratitude that you were willing to present this vulnerable state that you were in, and how beautiful it was to listen to you go through that process and changing that state that you were in, literally one state to the next, but the emotional state,
Exactly.
the heart state. Okay. And one of the comments that I think that that came to mind is that when we finally come to that place, as that rain is coming down and this song comes on and you're glowing right here, that you became aware that what you were experiencing was worthy of being aware of, that there was something both intrinsically and extrinsically, okay, aware of who Lauren is. And you were getting, as you once told me, that hug. So just extending that from over here in Oklahoma to you there. So
yeah, that's exactly what it felt like. It felt like a hug. And so thank you, Julia. I appreciate that. What we're going to discuss today is how to find your center, how to remain centered, how to get to that state of focus and concentration within yourself.
Yes.
So I'll read a few things from an article which I will share with you guys so you have access to it. Just to go over a little bit on what centering is. Centering is the act of focus and concentration on the present moment and your physical being. It allows you to be in the moment and to clear your mind of distractions. When you're centered, you're able to be more aware of your thoughts, your feelings, and you can make better decisions. There isn't one specific approach when it comes to centering. There are many different ways to achieve a centered state, and experimenting to find what works best for you is essential. So the benefits of centering are it reduces your stress and anxiety, you have better decision making, greater clarity and insight, less impulsivity, increased creativity and the flow state, and improved concentration. And a few benefits, a few signs that you're out of center would be you're easily distracted. You have that squirrel state where squirrel, you see something and you can't get back to what you're trying to focus on. You're going back and forth on commitments. It's kind of the same thing. You're feeling overwhelmed. You feel like you're not good enough. Your mind is constantly racing. You're not sleeping well, just to name a few. So, all right, let's jump in.
Let's get it.
So,
What
what do you do personally in your world? What do you do to stay centered?
I have several different, well, let me go ahead and preface this. It is perfectly natural to find yourself out of alignment. Okay. It is part of the typical growth process. Okay. Whether that's becoming an entrepreneur or it's me dealing with personal relationships, be it my children and I, or friendships, or a romantic relationship, or a business partner. Okay. That as we're growing, it is normal to have contrast that comes along, and that's where the value of having centering practices come in, because they allow you to navigate through those contrasts a lot quicker than what you might otherwise. Would you agree or disagree on that?
I definitely agree.
Okay.
And sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Guys, I'm an interactive speaker, so I'm always going to be interrupting. So FYI.
I'm just reading the comments here. So I see Shahab says very nice, and Stephanie is listening but food shopping. Hi Stephanie. Hi Shahab. Thank you guys for joining.
Thank you guys. Thank you.
And whoever else is here, we appreciate y'all. And please comment if you have questions. Join the conversation.
I love it. I love it. So when I think about the question is what are some of my centering or meditative practices? In the space that I'm in currently, we actually call this the Zen space, and you guys can't see except for this little corner right here. But I keep it separate from the rest of my living space. Okay, so that I, at any point in time, can come over to this space and just basically change the emotional mental state by walking in. I know that there's nothing else that goes on in this space unless I'm coaching, okay, or I'm doing Reiki, massage therapy, some of those things, or I'm sitting on one of my mats to do yoga or meditation. And some people don't go for this, but I love the idea of walking in, and my lighting is what I want it to be. So I will choose how I want my lighting. I will choose my scents, because this is a sensory experience, whether it's essential oils or it's incense. And then, of course, I choose my sounds that I want in this area. So that might be a type of music, or listening to someone that is very, very experienced in meditation practices like the Ongs and things along this line. So those are things that I do. just initially that come to mind. What about you, Lauren?
Awesome. I love that. Very, very mindful of you to create a whole space that is catered to that.
Yes.
And that way you have that escape and nothing is, you literally built boundaries around it. Nothing's
Yes.
imposing that energy. So that's beautiful. I have, it fluctuates for me. I, some days I prefer just to have complete silence and to sit still because I can tell that I have way too much going on in my head as it's hard for me to focus. I know myself well enough to know that when my mind is cluttered in that way, I tend to keep myself busy. I tend to overwork myself. That is my pattern. I know that I need to slow down. I know that I need to take that time to pause and to just really just process everything and meditate and get to what truly matters, the meat of the issues, the details that maybe I had missed because I was too busy. So that works for me. I make sure that I am physically active at least once a day because that helps get out that extra energy that typically will overflow in negative ways if you don't.
Yes.
Um, Also, it helps me shift my emotional state too on the days where maybe I'm feeling anxious for some reason, or maybe I'm feeling sad. It gets those endorphins going, and it allows me to shift my energy to something that's more productive. Um, Also, music, if I am in a state where I need to center or to shift a state, I have a long list of songs and types of music that I know will help me for each state that I need to get into. So if I need to get in a focused state, I have a playlist for that. If I need to get into a calm, just relax process state, I have a list for that. And what helps me is in that state specifically, if it has lyrics, it's already distracting. I go straight into that squirrel mode where, because I'm a lyrics person. So I hear a song and I'm like, what? Ah. And then whatever emotion that song is triggering, it gets me going. Like, and sometimes it'll remind you of a memory or a person or maybe an event that happened in the past. So I stay away from those types of songs in that state. Binaural beats are really good. Just meditation type music in general. You can find a long list of different things you can listen to on YouTube. It's all completely free. Um,
And
and
I
then
would
also,
even add, I would even add there, Lauren, shamanic drumming and flutes have an incredible, or the singing bowls have an incredible
oh,
ability
I
to
like those.
align.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we help. It's that it helps you kind of just recalibrate
Yes.
mentally.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, it's definitely worth covering that. Also, for me, what I eat, the food that
Mm,
I'm eating,
yes.
which when I was going through that PTSD stuff, by the way, I now no longer have any symptoms. I endured a coaching that was very similar to the work that I do with my clients. And ever since then, it's completely gone. Thank God. Or whatever higher power you pray to, even if it's none. But I'm very grateful for that. But in my worst days, on my worst days, I had to be very mindful because my body was inflamed.
Yes.
So I stayed away from sugar. And I noticed when I ate a lot of carbohydrates in general, I'd feel more anxious. I basically hack every single thing I could control around me.
There you go.
And food was a huge one. So eating fresher, unprocessed foods, just I noticed I had more energy. I was more just alert. I was able to focus on whatever task was in front of me. Yoga also is huge for me. I could be going through the worst thing on the planet, and something about yoga. I always, at the tail end of a practice, just wow, like my entire being is just there. Whereas before I could be like 500 different things, you know? So there's so many different things that work, and based on your state and what you're dealing with, like, and we're all completely different, which is something that's worth mentioning. Like,
It is.
what one person may not work for the next, you know? But the key is to really figure out what that is for you. So,
Mhm. And to have it, I love the idea or the visual of having a toolbox that we can, or, in some of our cases, it's a huge cosmetic bag of things that we can choose from, okay, that work for us in the moment, okay. When I was recovering from the stroke, or what I like to AKA call the brain reset, okay, I was more likely to go use, they call them sensory deprivation tanks, but actually they're sensory enhancement tanks, or a float tank, salt tank. And I would spend anywhere from 2 or 3 days in there on up to 7 days, because it puts you within an hour, it puts you in an instant, oh my gosh, meditative state. Okay. And you literally feel the body. I was ranging in just a tremendous amount of high alert and terror. And the system would just go, and you're almost asleep, but not quite. But now that I'm further down the journey in recovery, I might go once every few months. I'm not removing that tool, or, makeup brush from my bag here. I am, it's just there if and when I need it. Now I might go take a hot bath with essential oils and rose petals or whatever. And then on the other note of various therapies that we can use to bring us into that relaxed state is going to be nature therapy. And you hit on that. And just go, and it sounds so weird to people that just aren't used to being out in nature. But I will tell you that if you will go out, and it's the simplest things, walk past a tree and just reach up and touch its branches if it's hanging down low enough, and just simply state, I am so grateful for you. Thank you for your role on this earth. And you do that 2 or 3 times. By the time you get about to the third or fourth one, you almost feel like they're talking back to you. It almost, you just start to feel your space with this love and presence. And so that's, or barefoot, get barefoot, allow that grounding to happen while you're doing it.
that made me think of something that's really wonderful. I'm glad you found that float. What's it called? The floating therapy? I forget the name of
It's
it.
saltwater tank or float therapy.
I've been
Yes.
wanting to try that. I have a friend who swears by that. And then
Yeah.
the nature thing too, like
Yes.
both, I
Yes.
do that as well. But all of those things are amazing to mention. And I love that you recognize that it shifted you into that state. What your brain is doing in those moments, if you are
Mhm.
able to recalibrate as quickly as possible, you are literally rewriting,
Yes, you are.
rewiring, and
Yes.
reprogramming the way that your body is reacting to situations. And if you can get your entire body to feel a certain way,
Mhm.
all all in your nervous system, then you're going to completely recalibrate big picture. You won't go back to that triggered state or that whatever that place is where you feel stuck. Sean wrote, listening while cleaning house. I often have those squirrel moments, working on getting in the habit of writing things down when those ideas come so I can increase my, yeah, that's a great one. Increase your focus. So writing, and okay, so thank you, Sean, for sharing that. I can't say enough how important writing everything out is. That's a practice that I don't even really believe is talked about enough. But I just got this journal, my fuck off journal, which I figured I'd share. It was perfect timing for that. And Sean, I hope you enjoy yours as well. But just having a journal where you can get everything out. is so important, because sometimes you can't have that conversation. Sometimes you don't want to have that conversation because you know you just need to get it out. You don't want to pour it on anyone else. Sometimes it's just something you just need to release. It's an internal thing. And it's necessary to find an outlet for that. It's a good time to kind of segue into finding a passion, something that you truly love doing, something that you're good at, something that just being in that moment centers you. Um, for me, I like to write poetry, which I'm sure if you guys follow me, you've already figured that one out. And I like the creative process. I enjoy making videos and just creating things. That helps me get to that centered state. That's my way of releasing those emotions or intense feelings or whatever, if I'm having a moment like that. And it helps me process. So, but yeah, I also, I wanted to add on, Julia, because you mentioned the float spa. There's this, I believe it's IV therapy that also is supposed to help as well with your body's just physiological reaction. So that's another way to kind of hack your system if you're in a state. I'm not really sure the pricing or what's normal there, but I know that that's another thing that's available. Ice baths.
I see. Yes, ma'am. You know I'm all into that.
That's
Yeah.
a new thing, right? Everyone's talking about it, and it really does work. It really does work. So I'm curious. Tell us about your experience with that, Julia.
With the ice baths?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, I was introduced to it earlier this year, and I'll be honest that when I first heard about it, I was like, "Oh yeah, great idea. Yeah, we'll try it." Until I saw the frozen water, and then there was some definite resistance, y'all.
What?
and it was just there was some resistance, and I remember standing in the doorway looking at this tank, and looking at the person that had introduced me to it, and I went, I have a choice here. I can choose to stay in the state of fear and not knowing, or I can go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and boom! Before I even got to I didn't even get one out of my mouth, and I was already in the water. No one told me that all I had to do was get in the water. I thought getting in the water meant that you were supposed to pretty much submerge yourself in the water. So I didn't know any different, and I went all the way up to my neck. It was incredibly cold. But there was something that immediately I could feel my system just go, just this release. It was vibrant. It was vibrant. And so that started the challenge of doing these ice baths every day and slowly building up the endurance or a tolerance level, being able to stay in there for longer periods of time. And I will tell you, if you're trying to lose weight, okay, it will help you burn fat faster than most diets out there that you hear about, okay, that it actually raises the metabolism. It
Right.
increases your mental state. It
Right.
calms down the nervous
The
system.
nervous system. Yeah. That's where all the
Very,
magic happens. Yep.
yes, it's and there is just something. I'm just going to be honest with you. If you do ice baths, you're badass, hands down. So if you need a confidence booster, just go do ice baths. Everybody will look at you and go, "You're doing something that I won't do or can't do." So just go do it. It's an empowerment thing. And
I
then
was
I
it's a
go ahead.
mental it's a mental strength thing too,
Oh,
right? Like you start
so
to feel that mental
yes,
toughness where you're like,
yes,
this feels uncomfortable, but I'm fine. And
yeah.
I'm gonna be okay. And I got this. And then eventually like your whole body just doesn't tense up anymore.
Yeah,
You know?
you literally go through a state of where you can talk yourself. You can go, I am safe. I had an experience on one of those ice baths that I will tell you yeah, we got plenty of time here, just briefly. That was one of the most serene, meditative states I think I've ever been in before. I went in, it was at night, and it was frozen over, so I had to break the ice, okay, to get in. And I went out and I submerged myself in the body. Everything in my system was saying, get out, get out, get out, get out. And I was doing the internal dialogue. You are perfectly safe. Let's just embrace this.
Love
Let's just be right here. And within a few minutes of me just reaching that, I felt this just like that. It began snowing, and you could see the lights reflecting off the snowflakes.
Oh,
And in
that's
that moment, I thought I must have been sitting in heaven. I mean, it was the most beautiful experience. And so there just are so many benefits to ice baths. I encourage it. Go ahead, Lauren.
I was just saying, commenting, that sounds beautiful. Thank you for sharing that.
Gorgeous.
Wonderful. I wish we had snow here in Houston. We get the like gross, slushy ice that like melts, whatever. We did have a few snow days and weeks, not that long ago, which was kind of wild. And let me rephrase that. I really don't want that back. That was crazy. Everyone's pipes were bursting. It was insane. We weren't prepared for that. But all right, Stephanie wrote hot and cold baths. Same. My friend has them weekly. It's 37 degrees.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, yeah. So honestly, every single entrepreneur that I follow, that I have even in my network of people that I am connected with,
Mhm.
that's something they've mentioned has been life changing for them.
Yes.
So, and I trust their word. They're all successful. They're all doing their thing, and it works for them. So
Mhm.
I think it's absolutely beautiful. Um, One thing I wanted to mention too, we kind of touched briefly on it with how you were talking about it just becomes a little easier, right? The goal is to really be able to get to that state as quickly as possible without having to do too much, right? And I was thinking this earlier. We can either be controlled by our outer environment
Mhm.
and be the victim to it and complain about it. And trust me, we all have that ability to jump into that victimhood state. Or we can take over and take control of the things that we can control and literally hack everything around us to be conducive with the state and the place that we want to be in that moment.
Mhm.
And the power is truly in your hands. It
It is.
truly is. I mean, even on my hardest days, like I was just mentioning, as you can tell, I was determined to get out of it. I didn't want to swim in that negativity. I didn't want to swim in those emotional reactions that my body was just naturally doing because of a pattern I was so stuck in, right? But it's really important to know that you are truly in control here and you have the power. Nobody else does. You do. And really figuring out what that is for you is huge.
And I think too, Lauren, that when we look at taking control of our lives and the circumstances, both professionally and personally, that we have to understand that at some point in time we probably gave away that power and to somebody, or someone took it and we didn't know that we could keep it, kind of thing. And so when I think about like right now, I'm getting ready to go back to my maiden name, for instance. I've had people ask me, why do you want to go back there? Okay. There was nothing good over there with that last name, but, when you were growing up. And my response was honestly well, one, I want to, but two, I want to start pouring positivity and love and gratitude. I want to change the dynamics behind that name. I can't control what happened then, but I get to choose how I want to move forward. Okay. And so taking back that name is actually a power move. It is an opportunity for saying, you know what? Y'all took what was never yours to take. I'm taking back my stuff, who I am. I'm reclaiming Julia, and that's full name from first, middle, and last. And now I'm going to change the dynamics. Okay, so that future generations, when they look back on that name, it has something powerfully successful attached to it. And so I'm just thinking it's part of the mindfulness journey of the reasons behind what we do, and how we're going to make it happen. So hang on just a second. And so go ahead.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that. First of all, I failed to mention this. Everyone who's watching, please feel free to share, like, what works for you. What do you do? So we can discuss it. We'll talk about it.
Please.
I'd love to know. Everybody's completely different, and there's no right or wrong here. Even if it's something that is taboo, whatever, share it. Anyways, it's interesting you mentioned that. That's something that I obviously coach on as well, to help people see beyond their limiting beliefs and the way their minds are programmed, and the world programs us to have a victim mindset, to live in a state of fear, to constantly feel like we are victims to the world around us.
Yes.
The world feeds us food and media and all the things that literally will keep us in that state that we don't want to be in. And so as entrepreneurs, being mindful of that, I've actually heard just recently a few different entrepreneurs that I admire and respect say, oh, I don't really understand the people that do the ice baths. I don't really understand that. I think that's just extra stuff. They're just doing it to distract themselves. No. No, that is not true. And what that told me, and I want to vocalize this because I feel like it's important. There are a lot of people who watch these things and listen, and they're like, that's Bible truth. Everybody's different, like I've already mentioned. Some people have endured more things that have impacted their nervous system more intensely.
Mm-hmm.
And some people need something intense to get out of that state.
Yes.
And that's okay. And yes, there are ways to get past the beliefs, the limiting beliefs and the subconscious blocks. And you can use NLP, you can use hypnotherapy. But that's why those people use those things, because it helps the biological reaction, the physiological reaction. It's not because they're doing something extra, and I found that so interesting. And it's so easy to point fingers and say, well, that's wrong and this is wrong, and the way they're doing it, it doesn't work for me, so it must not be true. But in reality, there's no right or wrong. Like,
That's right.
I was just thinking, like, traveling for me is one that, like, I love. It recenters me. I love traveling. Like, the second I book a trip, I feel better.
Mm-hmm.
Going to concerts, music, live music. Sean can probably relate with that. I love live music. There's just something about being in that environment. For some people that might stress them out, but for me, I just love it. I love the way it feels to be in that state, in that place, and I love music.
I can actually feel this coming off of you right now. I'm sitting there going, get the girl a live concert right now.
I love music and I love concerts. Anybody that knows me knows that about me. It's just my thing. And like singing, for instance, I love to sing.
Yes.
That's actually like
Yes.
a thing that I've noticed in my life that's been pretty consistent. If I ever stop singing, if I'm not singing as much as I normally do,
Mm-hmm.
that's a clear sign that I need to slow down.
Oh, I love that.
I'm always
Love that.
always singing, even if it's just a song in the background. It's just what I do. I love to sing. My daughter and I enjoy music and singing together. It's our thing, So.
Oh my gosh. I want to comment actually on that, because I've had an experience a few times throughout my life where I would have individuals go, would you please stop doing that? Talking about singing. And which is interesting because I actually had two potential recording deals on singing, when I was younger. And so singing was, I took opera, type lessons and 4 years of that and all that good fun stuff. And so singing used to be a part of my dialogue. After the stroke happened, I forgot how to sing. I know that sounds a little weird, but I truly forgot how to sing. And reading, writing, all those things. I had to relearn all those things. And now hearing you say that if you're not singing, then you know that you're out of alignment somehow. And so you've actually just given me a gift of going back, and I'm going, oh yeah, that was a thing. And so I'm going to play with that for a little bit, Lauren. Thank you so much for that, because it's a nurturing aspect of who we are. It's an expression that allows us to move physically and vocally move through whatever we're experiencing. And then on another note that I want to touch on, because you hit on it, that what works for one or two people may not work for somebody else, okay? Or it may just not be working for that person at that time. It may work later on for that person. But there is a thing, an injection that's called the Stellate ganglion blocker, or the PTSD injection. And I think this is a good time to mention that, because for some individuals, depending on the level of traumas that they have been through, the ability to calm their system down enough to be able to even meditate in the sense that we think of meditation is an impossibility. There's too much. Their state of terror is too high.
I
Okay?
know from personal experience. Yes.
And I know. Yes.
Literally fought against my body because mentally I was on point. It was
Yes.
my body. Yeah.
Yes, it was the body remembering what's going on. And so
Yep.
what this injection does is that it goes in and it basically applies a saline coating over that ganglion center area, and acts as kind of like a shield or a raincoat around those nerve centers. And so when the incident that causes the PTSD rise, or this major anxiety shows up, it actually, you can feel it go here, and then it stops. Okay, like it doesn't go any further. So your brain has the opportunity to recalibrate how it's going to react. And it's just enough, and it's so beautiful. And so those are offered, and sometimes not every state offers them, but here in Tulsa, I have to give a little plug in for Dr. Knife Chief here, because they offer it for a cost that is insane compared to other medical physicians. But the VA is right now doing tests on these injections with veterans and finding tremendous amount of results for them that honestly cognitive behavioral therapy isn't touching.
That's
So,
beautiful.
anyway, just check it out if that's something that calls to you, because it can allow us to have that space to be able to recalibrate
That's
enough to
so
forget some things.
necessary. Yes. And like, even just talking about how I got past my PTSD, it's that space that you have in the coaching sometimes too that's
Yes,
necessary.
yes.
Co-regulation is having that second person there with you who literally has the capacity to be a safe space for you, to reset the way that you're viewing and seeing and reacting, and the narratives that you have going on up here. They basically give you that capacity too. This is a really interesting thing that I've learned in my studies. Uh, the people that you surround yourself with, your nervous system will align with theirs.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
So if you're hanging out with somebody who is constantly like on high alert and anxious, and maybe they experience some kind of trauma and they haven't tried to heal at all, and they're that, bless you, and they're that victim to their Gesundheit, the victim to their circumstances. Or if you're around somebody who has that capacity, who is cool, calm, collected, that doesn't react, that has what people call, the high vibe, where they're not reactive. truly high vibe just means that your nervous system has healed a bit more. And so you're not in that reactivity state. You're more in touch with yourself. And there's so many different ways that you can say that.
Well, and what's happening though there is that when you are aligning with somebody, there is a dominant energy. So if you happen to be at a lower vibrating energy that is more submissive, if you will, to the dominant energy, good, bad, indifferent, positive, negative, whoever is the dominant energy is going to be the one that the other person begins to align with. And so it truly is important to know. Yes, that's my wave, y'all. I'll get up here and dance if I need to. That'll use. Allows being mindful of what we listen to, what we're watching, how we're speaking, how we're thinking, and the influences of the individuals that are around us is so incredibly important. And so, yeah, it's just, oh, I love that hot topic. Ooh, so good
Yeah,
stuff.
that's why I wanted to touch on it. It's okay. So that's another thing that's helped me heal tremendously. I tend to go into isolation in my patterns, which I'm learning to no longer do to the extremes that I do it, because it does not serve me. It is important to take note and pause when you need to as an entrepreneur, obviously, or else you're not going to be able to
Thank you.
process, like I mentioned earlier, how it really helps me see, like, okay, I need to remember this, or maybe I see a deeper learning somewhere where if I had kept moving too fast, I wouldn't have seen that. And I wouldn't be able to, like, oh, I really don't want to do that again. You know what I mean? So it's
Yes.
really good to pause from time to time. That's important. And you can't really do that when you have people around you. But anyways, with this healing that I've endured recently, one thing that also helped me was jumping right back into work and being around my people. And my people are entrepreneurs, and just the energy of being around them. We are social creatures. We heal through connection. We heal in environments where we are connected, where we're nurtured, where we are seen, where we're heard, where we're respected, where there's safety.
Yes.
It's the opposite that traumatizes us, and it's the opposite that keeps us in that state where we feel trauma, where we feel whatever state that we want to get out of, which, again, it's different per person how we react during our patterns, but that's one universal truth.
Yes.
And
Yes.
even the core of addiction is lack of connection, lack of love, lack of feeling seen, of feeling heard. And just sometimes that's what we need to get out of a certain state, is to just connect with someone that is capable of holding that safe space for you, or for creating that environment like we were talking about. Like for me, being in around my entrepreneur friends, that it just it feels good to my nervous system. I feel safe, I feel seen, I feel heard. I don't have to explain or be a certain way. Like, these people just get me, and
Yeah.
we all need that in one way or another. Some of us don't have it in our families. Some of us don't have it in our work. Some of us don't have it in our friendships. Or I really hope this isn't true, but sometimes people don't have it in their intimate relationships. Well, if that's the case, that you're being very honest with yourself and that you find someone that you can be safe with. So that should be the foundation. But it's true. Sometimes we don't have that. And so finding that is really important. You can tie that in with your passions. What are you passionate about? What's something that you love to do? Go find other people that do it too. Like to go skydiving. Go find people that skydive. If you like to play poker, like whatever it is. If you want to go running, if you want to go out to eat, like a foodie group where you're hanging out with people that like to dine at a new restaurant every week.
Or a nudist camp. If you just like going around naked, y'all. Okay, go. I'm just saying.
Oh
Dive
my
into it.
gosh, yes.
Car card carrying member over here. We do what we got to do.
Talk about freeing your mind.
Yes,
Like,
yes,
if you
yes.
can conquer that, I mean, truly, you can conquer anything. So,
Well, I think as entrepreneurs that we have to realize that that what we are doing is both aligning ourselves to where we're the most okay, let me get that word out, optimal functioning. Okay, we're in a healthy state, and we're setting the example for those that we may employ or our family members, you know, at home, even our friendships. Okay, that example is being set. And I do want to say this because we talked about this pre going live here. Is one of the things that you did when you took the small break that you took. Okay, you were giving yourself permission to go directly into what you were experiencing, feeling, that you were doing the hard work, and you took time out. In a sense, you took some PTO away from your entrepreneurship to go do self-care. Okay, and that is so important that we do that. And
self torture, you know.
just
I'm joking.
do what you got to do, Lauren. Okay.
I like pain, guys. I don't know. All right.
No judgments, no judgments. But one of the things that I really loved learning is that, and if you guys have businesses that have employees, there are companies out there right now that have unlimited PTO, for instance, and that really focus on what's going on in the personal lives of their professional employees. Okay, because really what you're doing is they are partners in a sense. Okay, and the more that and anyway, with these companies that two of my daughters are working for. Is that by giving them the freedom to take the time doesn't mean that they take the time, but it automatically sets that employee up with a state of understanding that if I need to take care of me, then my employer understands that that is valuable, which means it becomes more valuable to me. So it becomes this reciprocal experience of having choice. And I just think that is one of the most beautiful things ever. It's a new way of doing business. So anyway, my thoughts.
I think that's wonderful, and it's a new paradigm that I hope the rest of the world applies to just being a human. Because
yes, yes,
we could be honest about our mental health days for our children, you know, and if we decide to be in a certain environment where we have to feel restricted by, we can't call off because I might get in trouble, so I have to say I'm sick or whatever
there we
it is.
go. There we go. Instead of saying I need to take this mental health day just to take care.
Just say I'm taking a mental health day. Think about how good that feels in your body. Like you're not resisting anything. There's no part of you that's like hiding. You're not having to lie. You don't feel any kind of restriction. You literally can just be your full self and say, look, love you guys, but I got to take care of me. Take health day, and I have no shame about it. And how beautiful is that?
Yes, and then when they come back, guess what's going to happen? Okay, and Lauren, if you came to me after you've had 2 or 3 days off and I went to the spa, I had a salt float, I got a massage in there, I went camping overnight if you like doing that and built a couple of fires. I had some really great sex, and if you drink wine, I don't drink, but had a really great glass of wine. You know what I'm going to be doing? I'm going to be over here going, dang, okay, I'm going to need me some of all of that. And we're going to start, you're going to come back and you're going to be more productive and focused. I'm going to be inspired to go do the same thing. So guess what? I'm going to want to take care of my employer because I know there is something I can,
absolutely.
Would it not make a more fun environment?
Yeah. So I'm not going to add this on here. The nudist colony. I believe this is Sean. So
I love you, Sean.
This nudist colony that's awesome, but that takes a super level of self-confidence. That's when you know nothing affects you. I mean, it's true. Actually, that's on my bucket list. I'm not gonna lie. That's
Get on down here. I will take you. They have 2 pools. You can play volleyball. That we can go on nature hikes, butt naked.
And then we have, that's where being the boss is the way to go, but it's not for everyone. I don't know who that is because I can't see my Facebook right now, but let's look at it real quick before I can't tell at the moment. Anyways, yeah, so being in alignment. I mean, you already said it. It's so important to just be able to just be. And yes, okay, Sean said that. I personally agree with being the boss. That's my way to go. But being the boss that allows that for your employees, wow! Like, set the standard, guys. Set the standard, and that's what a beautiful company morale and the values that you set. Like, your health, your mental health, your being matters to me, and maybe even giving them the access to coaching as well as like a benefit, so that way they know, like, if you find someone gets stuck in that limited space in their mind, that they can get past it quicker instead of having to keep taking these self-care days
Right.
for a reason,
Well,
you
and
know.
there's, the thing is, Lawrence, right now, there are organizations that actually hire coaches to come in. I'm a heart centered therapeutic coach. I care about the well being of the individuals that I'm interacting with. You do a different type of coaching, although we're very much in alignment. It's, I think the way that we think about our mental and physical and spiritual beings, okay, is changing. It's no longer going to just a minister or going to a therapist or a psychiatrist. We're learning that there are individuals that, as you said earlier, can hold a space and co-regulate with you, so
Absolutely.
that to help you process what you're going through. And as entrepreneurs, if we have employees and we're able to offer, just even if insurance doesn't pay for it, if you could have a coach come in once a month and meet with your employee, or have your employees go to them once a month, how much better would that experience be for your employees when they're on the clock? But look what you're pointing to their personal lives as well. It's just, they're going to go home and be better parents or spouses or boyfriend or girlfriend or whatever. And oh, it's powerful.
I agree with that, and I feel like the mindset shift in our culture should, right now, people don't, entrepreneurs obviously don't have this for the most part, but people don't recognize the value in investing in these things, and how these types of experiences, having a coach, having a mentor, having just even colleagues that are mentoring you in a way, invaluable. Invaluable. You literally, you skip years of wasting your time and your physical life force of having to try to figure it out on your own. And
Yes.
that's why I'm happy that we're doing these sort of discussions and giving back in that way, because not very many people talk openly about how do you keep yourself centered, you know?
That's right.
And it's so invaluable. I've been very blessed with the wisdom that I've accumulated from the brilliant, brilliant people that I have surrounded myself with. And that I've also initiated my own learning. And since I can remember, I've always just been a curious soul, but since jumping into the entrepreneur world, and even before that, I was already researching the great minds like Einstein. Like, I wanted to understand the way he thought and the way he saw the world, you know? Stephen Hawking, for instance. I mean, he's a great example. I watched a documentary where he was discussing how he had his, I think it was dinner or lunch or just meals with his family, and he would allow open discussion. There was no age limit per topic, so his 5-year-old could come to the table and say, "Hey, what is sex?
Yeah.
What are psychedelics?" Like, they could literally come to the table with anything, and he and his wife would respond with information that was valuable instead of shaming them and, oh, I can't believe you're too young. Why are you talking about that? And that, just learning that alone before I even had my daughter, completely molded the way that I parent her. Completely. I
It
never
does.
never shame her. If she's curious, ask questions, learning,
Yes.
growing, and evolving, and all of that. And having an environment and a space where you can do that, even just not everyone has that in their lives too. So
Right.
that's really important.
And I would actually say that that is something that is so incredibly valuable, that actually transitioning that off onto or into the work environment also once again becomes a valuable gift that we're giving our employees. We say oftentimes, hey, open door policy, you can come in anytime and talk to us. But do we really operate in a manner that makes it safe for our employees to come to us with any topic, period, the end? And I know that as a parent, the same thing. We had an open table discussion. If you were old enough and able enough to come to the table with the question that you had, then we were going to find an answer for it.
Yeah,
And
beautiful.
how much more amazing will that be in the employment environment, where we are so mindful, we're so confident with where we are, that our employees know that when they approach us, that any topic is allowed. Go ahead and let's present this, and let's just do so with a level of understanding, peace, open hands, okay, open heart, and let's see what happens. Let's see what happens there. So, just some thoughts on
It's
mindfulness and
most,
entrepreneurship.
it's the most efficient way to navigate relationships because you don't have any resistance. There's no tension. When you just allow another human, with or without being an entrepreneur, just being in the presence of another person, if you just allow that human to be themselves
Yes.
and you don't pressure or force or try to control them in any way, even internally in your mind, because typically someone can sense that outwardly, right? So just having that clean slate and allowing that for the other person can sometimes be the only thing someone needs in their rough patch or moment, or who knows, and that could completely get them to where they want to go. They just don't have that ability with anyone else. So
Mhm.
imagine giving that gift to every single human you meet, and like it's effortless.
Mhm.
Truly, it's effortless to just let people be who they are.
Yes, and I will say this, that for in some we do live in a world where sometimes people are not going to be receptive to what we're offering, but holding a space for the fact that they're non-receptive is also holding a space for who they are. And
Yeah,
it may be that situation where you have to go, okay, here's some healthy boundaries. I'm going to let you be over here, and I'm going to go over here. No hard feelings. No, in fact, I'm going to wish you love and gratitude and kindness. And if you decide you want to discuss it, hey, come on over. So
that actually hit on something I've been wanting to bring up. I feel like this topic is one of those things you could talk about for hours.
good.
I read this last night and it was a good reminder that focusing on gratitude, which again, my little fuck off
I love it so much.
do it all. Um, Gratitude, when you focus on gratitude, when you focus on the things that you're grateful for, when you're focusing on the good, when you're looking at the things that are working for you, the things that are aligning for you, the things that are for your benefit and for your well-being, versus this isn't working, I don't like this, why do I keep having this happen?
Language.
Energy there, the language, yes, just focusing on gratitude. If you could do that at least one time a day, I've been doing it a lot more than that lately, but when something happens, even not having to sit in traffic, or it could be something small, or it could be that call that you've been waiting for, and you're just so grateful that you got it finally. And having that feeling of gratitude will completely shift the way that your mind moves for the rest of the day. And there was one thing I wanted to add on to that, which I'm trying to remember. It slipped my mind, but hopefully it'll come back.
I would like to just do an invite as the time's kind of closing up to an end, that if you guys, anyone that's viewing or may view this in the future, if you guys want to talk about any of these topics, or if it touches your heart and you feel like that there's some areas of growth that you want to do, reach out to Lauren or I. We are here. I know Lauren well enough to know we are receptive to helping others grow where they want to grow. And we've been through some pretty dark spaces, and we know how to navigate those spaces. So if that's something that you want help with, we're here. We're here. And I am so grateful for you, Lauren. You are, gosh, I mean, you are literally a heaven sent individual, and you've enriched my life. And so I'm grateful to be able to serve through this process with you. So
Likewise, extreme gratitude for you, Julie, for your presence and your just being you, your heart-centered presence. I love that.
Thank you.
So I guess we're coming up on an hour. I can't remember what it was I was going to bring up, but maybe I'll remember at some other point.
Episode. We'll bring it up in another episode.
3 o'clock in the morning. I'm going to say, oh my gosh, that was it. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. We really appreciate
We do.
your support, your viewership, just your presence as well, for y'all being a part of this. And this is our way of giving back. We definitely love feedback. We want this to be good and better and best for anyone who's here to watch us. So
Please, thank you.
we appreciate you guys. Have a beautiful rest of your day.
Bye, guys. Thank you, Lauren.
Bye. Thank you.